In the previous videos, we were on a path that leads us from the overtone series to the foundations of tonal harmony. We saw that the USTA sequencer can easily fit into tonal harmony, but we also saw that it names the major and the minor scales as Ionian and Aeolian. Why is that so? The answer has to do with modal harmony, so brace yourself. We said that tonal harmony has two modes, the major and the minor, where every note and every chord built on every note has a specific role. However, in the earlier videos we also saw that there can be virtually infinite sets of intervals between one note and its octave. And what happened to them? So different scales than the major and the minor are the core of many musical traditions around the world, and some of them are even surviving in Europe. For example, a common scale of Scottish music is this one, which we can think of as a major scale with a minor seventh, or a common scale of Irish music is this one, which we can compare to a minor scale with a major sixth. And we didn't even mention the many scales around the world and even in Europe with intervals smaller than the semitones, but this might be the topic for another video. As always, if you're interested into that, let me know in the comments below. In the West, we tend to name a series of intervals mode, following the tradition of the church modes of the Middle Ages, some of whose names still survive today, even if applied to the modern 12-tone equal temperament context. But why sometimes do we use the term mode and some other times the term scale? There is not an unambiguous definition on this matter, but one that I personally like a lot says that a scale is more a melodic concept. It is a set of intervals that we use to form a melody with a specific character, even within the context of tonal harmony. For example, I can use a pentatonic scale, which is a scale made of 5 intervals, to write a melody which is clearly in C major. Mode, on the other hand, according to this definition, has a more harmonic connotation. It implies a whole different harmonic context, a new system, if we want to call it that way, where we emphasize the flavor of each mode, both through melody and through harmony. And we will soon see how. Even if a mode can be virtually every set of intervals within one octave, there are a few of them which are more popular than others, and they are those derived from the major scale. Their names derive from the Greek and the church modes, even if they are very different, and the musical context has changed as well. A common way to explain the modes derived by the major scale is taking the major scale and picking a different degree as the starting point from our new mode. The first degree, this mode is called Ionian. Ionian mode and the major scale are basically identical, but they are in different harmonic context. And if I start from A, using the same notes as C major or C Ionian, I obtain the A Aeolian, which is the same structure as the natural minor scale. If, however, I start, for example, on the second degree, on D, I have the Dorian mode, which is exactly like a minor scale, but with a major sixth. So instead of having, I have this one. If I start from E, I have the Phrygian mode. If I start from F, I have the Lydian. If I start from G, I have the Mixolydian. A is the Aeolian and B is the Locrian. However, I don't particularly like this approach, or at least I don't think it is the only one that should be used when understanding modes, because it might deceive into thinking that all these modes are still C major. And if we are talking about modes, we are no longer interested in what their relation to the major scale is, but it is more important to understand the relationship between each mode's interval. So I think it is nice to complement this approach with the so-called pitch axis. So right now I patched to the Kunsa two oscillators, one controlled by the USTA and the other providing a drone in C. And in my project I programmed 7 patterns, each with a different mode derived from the major scale, but everyone starts from C. So I will have Ionian on pattern 1, Dorian on pattern 2, Phrygian, Lydian, Mixolydian, Aeolian and Locrian. And now you can hear the difference of every interval related to the drone, which is playing the fundamental tone. And this technique is often called the pitch axis because we are keeping the foundation, the root note steady, and we are changing the modal intervals on top of that. Let us select the pattern 2 and you will hear that it will become Dorian. This is the Phrygian. Pay attention to the flat second. This is the Lydian with a sharp fourth. Mixolydian with the flat seventh. Aeolian, which is like a minor, natural minor scale. And finally, the Locrian. I think that this method is very useful with a drone because it makes you quickly realize the intervals of a mode at a glance. So for example, if I make the sequence go faster and compare the Locrian and the Phrygian, I can immediately hear the difference in the fifth. The same is true when we compare the Aeolian to the Dorian. Okay, right now I have no quantization mask. I am playing a melody that uses all the 7 notes of C Ionian. Now I want to enter the quantization options, leave the root to C, and change the scale to our modes. So if I start with Ionian, nothing changes. If I set Dorian, I may want to adjust the quantization mask according to the notes I want to emphasize in the mode. Since all these modes are derived from the major scale, I can achieve a similar result by changing the root note to the Ionian scale whose mode I am interested in. So for example, let's say that I want to quantize this scale to C Mixolydian. Now the difference between C Ionian and C Mixolydian is the flat seventh. So I must select the Ionian scale which has a B flat in it, which is the F major, the F Ionian. So if I set my root note to F Ionian, I will obtain the same result as tuning to C Mixolydian. Why should we complicate the matter this much? Well, I'll tell you why. Because root note is a parameter that we can change and we can shift through external CV. So let's select our Ionian, and let's go to pitch shift, let's leave it alone, and let's go to root shift and set it to CVA. Now we are in Ionian, and now I shift the root node from C to F, and so the C is quantized to the C scale that we can derive from F major. Let's say that I want to play in C Aeolian. Now the C Aeolian has E flat, A flat and B flat. The major scale that has these intervals is the E flat. I want to play Dorian, I must select the scale with only B flat and E flat. Which is B flat major, and this is the Dorian C. As I said earlier, modal music is a much more extended concept, and it is very hard to pinpoint in its foundational structures as opposed to tonal harmony. But I hope that this brief introduction at least sheds some light on this topic. If there is anything you'd like to dive more into, let me know in the comments below. For now, I think that we can cap it here, and I will see you next time, where we might explore some techniques of American minimalism or maybe some microtones.